we were collectively too slow. So this Ukrainian push, the spring offensive or now the summer offensive, whatever it is, has been a bit slow because they've been waiting for weapons. And so their ability to deliver a sort of knockout punch to the Russians within Ukraine has been somewhat, I think, harmed because the Russians have had longer to dig in and they've been anticipating, and so it becomes more difficult.
Absolutely, and many of these weapons are still arriving much too late. For example, the decision to send them cluster munitions came a couple of weeks ago, and those cluster munitions started arriving just a week or so, and we are far into July, so if those weapons were available back in April, then it would have been a different thing. The same as you mentioned with these long-range missiles. If the Americans would send the so-called ATACMS or the Germans, the Taurus, these long-range missiles, then it would be much easier for the Ukrainians to hit these weapons depots and other railway nodes, for example, that are far behind enemy lines. But this is the type of attacks that you need to do to deplete the opponent before you start attacking. So unfortunately, yes, I completely agree with you. Many of these weapons, if they would have been sent in late winter or early spring, then the Ukrainians would have had a much better chance to have a successive summer offensive.
And we see it goes in now in the increasing rate of fire against Odessa. Part of the problem is the Ukrainians just do not have enough anti-missile defences in that part of Ukraine.
Absolutely, a lot of it.
And this is against a Russian determination to destroy Ukraine's ability to export grain, because the Russians have quite a good grain harvest, including from Russia and indeed those parts of Ukraine which they sought to annex in eastern Ukraine some years ago. So
and it's a great opportunity for them to take over those market shares that have been left out now by the missing Ukrainian grain. So the grain that could come in and take over is either Russian grain or technically stolen Ukrainian grain.
Yeah, I think Russia is just banking on the fact that everybody in the West is expected to get a bit tired soon and will sort of lose interest.
That is certainly something they are hoping for. They are also hoping for some kind of change in the West, probably especially, or the presidential elections taking place in the US in 2024. They are hoping that there could be some political change over there that could improve their situation, but also in the EU.
But that's, yes, but that's quite frightening, isn't it? Because from now until the November 2024 is about the same time as from February 2022 to now. So we're saying the war continues for the same period. We're not even halfway through on that basis. And that is part of the problem. The Russians can stay dug in the eastern part of Ukraine for a long time now, and it's much easier to defend than it is to attack.
Yes.
And I think historically, if you look at the Russian army, it's always been pretty useless at attacking in terms of military terms. I mean, it can go around destroying things and raping people, raping women, obviously, and it's good at that. But in military terms, it's not very good at attack, but it has historically been quite good at defence. And I think this is a problem which I'm sure those who know more about military affairs than you and I do are considering it. But it is one of the, as we said a few moments ago, it is one of the unfortunate side effects of having delayed the supply to Ukraine of enough weaponry quickly enough for them to be able to deliver a bigger punch.
Absolutely, and also the type of weapons that have been sent. There has been clearly a lack of weapons coming from the West that belong to this category of not direct offensive weapons that you use to wound or kill enemy soldiers, but to breach through fortifications. So various types of special engineering tanks that are really used just to demine those first areas. Various types of bridges that these tank bridges, so to say, that you can cross water obstacles. There could have been also various types of amphibious vehicles or boats, at least to threaten the Russians a little bit with some kind of crossing over the Dnipro River in sections where the Russians haven't built these defensive lines and fortifications. So
Adam, as usual, the clock in the corner of the studio has defeated us, so I'm going to have to ask you to pause there. We'll pick it up next time. There we are. Time and tide wait for no man, certainly not in television studios. Anyway, fear not. If you join us next time, as we hope you will, we'll continue the story here on Poland Daily History. Thank you for watching.